BusinessMirror offers you stories, conversations, and insights. With this session we're calling Freshly Brewed. Like great coffee to savor, Freshly Brewed tells compelling stories through the interaction between the most interesting people and BusinessMirror's roster of journalist hosts, discussing the hot issues of the day, or topics still unfolding, or brewing.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Freshly Brewed. I am Andrea San Juan, Trade and Industry Reporter for BusinessMirror, and your host for today's episode. Today, we will be talking about the resilience of hybrid banks. Joining us is someone who has made significant strides in the banking industry. Please welcome Mr. Jaime Valentin Araneta, the President of Citystate Savings Bank and the chairman of Chamber of Thrift Banks Convention for this year. Hi, Sir Jimi. Kamusta po kayo?
I'm doing very well. I hope you are too, Andrea.
Thank you, sir. Nice to have you here with us today. Before we dive into today's topic, let's get to know more about Sir Jimi. Sir, can you tell us more about your background? In particular, how did you get into the banking industry when you started out as an associate editor for a tourist guidebook and as a copywriter trainee after you graduated from Ateneo? I'm just curious, what made you take that leap into the banking industry?
Yeah, I've always had a penchant for writing, actually. And back in college, my grandfather actually wanted me to go into journalism. And for that, he thought that after college, I should take up law. So I was a philosophy major, which is a pretty good basis, foundation for practically anything.
Yeah.
But law really wasn't for me, so I only had a year of law, and then I shifted and took up my MBA, but still in Ateneo. The involvement with the tourist guidebook, that was just on a lark. Some friends and I thought of making a little extra money while summer was a time of doing nothing at all. So I used my writing skills somehow, and we put that together, made a few bucks, and that was it, never to be repeated again. In terms of the advertising gig, well, my father actually was in the industry for the longest time, and there are several others in the family, including a brother. My eldest daughter is also in that industry. So it's kind of a legacy, but I decided to go the other way, go into banking. Yeah, I hadn't planned on it, but some people thought that it might be a good opportunity. So I went through a management training program with the bank that is now known as Bank of Commerce. Then it was known as the Commercial Bank of Manila, or ComBank for short. Yeah.
And then I noticed that you stayed there for such a long time, I think around 8 years?
Around seven.
7 years.
Around seven,
Okay.
yes. And then I went through several other banks since then, but that was foundational for me.
Oh, yeah.
And it helped make me a more well-rounded banker, since I've been part of different departments or segments in the bank.
So from that 7 or to 8 year experience with the Bank of Commerce, right? What made you decide to continue pursuing this profession in the banking industry?
Right. Banking is a very stable profession. and it allows one to exercise various skills. There's never a dull moment. It's always customer-centric, and because of the rapid advances in technology, marketing disciplines and the like, you really have to stay current. At the same time, you get to meet a lot of colleagues. You grow along with them, as with your customers. And so it becomes a very comfortable space, so to speak. In fact, if I can, dial it forward, I actually retired back in 2018. Except that, for 15 months, I thought that I could just rely on passive income and the like. But somehow my mind and my body were still so attuned to banking. And I suppose even my wife and my kids felt it. So they were the ones prodding me actually to go back to the industry. And so, I thought of reconnecting with our vice chairman, Benji Ramos. And after a few months of talks, I joined up with Citystate Savings Bank in the middle of the pandemic at that. In 2020. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yes. So, talking about your hat as president of Citystate Savings Bank. So you mentioned that you joined the bank 5 years ago, or in 2020 during the pandemic. What made you decide to join Citystate from your previous job?
There's a little bit of something like destiny, perhaps. Because even when I was still connected with the previous bank, for whatever reason, I actually started to think through what it means to be a part of Citystate. So, and I actually have a notebook where I scribbled, a few factoids, so to speak. For instance, the strength of city-states of old, like Athens, Sparta, and of course the modern day example is Singapore, right? And how, a bank like Citystate, although relatively small, can punch above its own weight. And I always thought, whenever I come across different branches of Citystate back in the day, I always thought that there was a lot of untapped potential for this bank to grow. And since I was already part previously of two banks that started from much the same level, PS Bank and China Bank Savings, I had a real first-hand experience of what it would entail to grow a bank from the mezzanine level, as it were, all the way to its rightful place as one of the top-tier thrift banks in the country.
Okay, you mentioned, sir, that Citystate has untapped potential. That's what made you join, because of your previous experience with PS Bank and China Bank, right?
Savings.
So, what was that untapped potential, you think, with Citystate?
For one, I always thought in terms of synergies. And I knew for a fact that Citystate Savings Bank was but one cog in a very strong machine, an ecosystem at that, namely the ALC group. And I thought that perhaps Citystate could actually tap into or leverage synergies between the bank and the insurance sector, the media group, even the pre-need, the Memorial Park, of course automotive. And that's really how I first broached the subject of how I can contribute to Citystate, even during my initial interviews.
Just curious to compare how Citystate was before you joined and how is it now under your watch. I read a report noting that Citystate Savings Bank had an income turnaround in 2024.
Yes.
From the prior year's deficit. Also, is that something that has not been achieved in the past years, and can you tell us more about the trend?
There were already fits and starts. There were peaks and valleys in the profitability of the bank over the years, even before I joined up. But what I tried to instill was a certain discipline. We also reorganized the bank. We set up different departments and divisions. We improved certain processes. And very importantly, we recruited seasoned bankers who were able to bring to bear, the collective wisdom and experience and even network of clients that they had from their past stints in the industry. And all told, it's been a long, drawn-out process, but I think this time we're actually reaping the fruits of our collective efforts. Yeah.
And you're confident that it will still continue to be profitable in the next few years from the turnaround?
I believe so. With any bank, even our regulator, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, always looks at what your core business is and what your core revenues are being generated. And that's an improving trend line that we're seeing. We're seeing more and more core income, and we feel that with our business plan, our updated 5-year strategic plan, we will be able to sustain this in the near term at least.
I'm also curious, since you became the president of Citystate, has the bank introduced any new products and services, and how crucial are these new products and services in shaping the bank's performance today, including the said income turnaround?
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. One of the distinctives of Citystate Savings Bank for the longest time has been jewelry loans. This is really the turf of the pawn shops, as you can well imagine. So Citystate, I think, is just one of a handful of banks that are actually into this space. So we propagated that. We also introduced what are called small biz loans. So these are really catering to the small and medium enterprises, the SMEs, right? And then we also tried to bolster our other consumer finance products, home loans, auto loans, salary loans. Yeah. But perhaps, Andrea, if I made probably the biggest strategic initiative that we are well into now is our digital banking transformation.
Okay.
So we are putting the finishing touches on our plan for that, and we've already identified the fintech partner that will help us finally get to the point of having our own mobile banking solution, eventually business banking, which has actually been the clamor of our clients week in, week out. Yeah.
Sir, when do we expect that to be finalized? Is that a mobile app?
Yes, exactly. We hope to get the BSP's nod within the year, if all goes well.
Okay.
And we intend to use that platform to benefit not just our sister companies within the business group of ALC, but our clients out there, both individuals and the corporates.
It's nice to hear. So moving forward, apart from that mobile app, are there any upgrades that we should tune into in terms of Citystate's products and services?
Yes. Firstly, we're also in the home stretch of our core banking system migration. So that will be completed by the end of the year, but we will already be doing a soft rollout starting in July. Okay. So that will enable us actually to bolster even further another new product that we introduced just 3 years ago, less than 3 years ago, which is our APDS teachers loans. So these are loans catering to public school teachers and administrators. And by having an online channel, the DepEd, the Department of Education, would actually allow us to go nationwide already. Yeah. So that's in the works even as we speak.
Okay, sir. So now I think it's time to wear a different hat for our guest. Apart from being president of Citystate Savings Bank, Sir Jimi is also a trustee of the Chamber of Thrift Banks, and he will also serve as the chairman of the Chamber of Thrift Banks convention this year. But before we talk about the upcoming 51st anniversary celebration, sir, may you enlighten us about the Chamber of Thrift Banks? What are the objectives, vision, and mission of the Chamber?
Yes. The Chamber of Thrift Banks is an institutional medium that came together back in 1974 for thrift banks, namely savings and private development banks, to come to each other's assistance on matters and concerns common to the industry and to their clientele, right? But over the years, it's really evolved as the liaison also of the industry, the thrift banking industry, with the regulators, particularly the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. And for certain advocacies, for instance, that may involve the Department of Budget and Management, the Department of Education. Sometimes we are even called to give our inputs on legislation that's in the works. So we have representatives of the chamber have come before congressional committees, the Senate, that sort of a thing. And over the years, we've also been working very, very closely with the other associations of the banking industry. So you have the Bankers Association of the Philippines, you have the Rural Bankers Association of the Philippines, and now you have the Digital Bank Association.
So, is it right, sir, the Chamber has 38 members?
That's right.
Yeah?
That's right.
And where are these member banks based?
Oh, they're all over the country. A lot of the head offices, as you can expect, are within the NCR. But we have members who are actually based in provincial centers like Bohol, Cebu, and other parts. So the beauty really of our industry is that we represent a good cross-section of the country in terms also of the verticals, all the way from microfinance to high net worth or wealth banking.
So, sir, just going back to definition of terms, can you help us differentiate thrift bank from commercial bank and rural bank?
All right, yeah. So if you think of the entire banking industry, at the top would be the universal banks and regular commercial banks. In terms of asset size, right, and capital, maybe we'll talk about capital. The required capital for universal banks is, if I recall right, 5 billion pesos. For regular commercial banks, it's 2.8 billion, as I recall. And then for us, thrift banks whose head office is located within Metro Manila, it's a minimum of 1 billion. It goes down to 400 million if your head office is located outside. And then for rural banks, it's anywhere from 120 to 200 million. So this allows us actually to have not so much competition, although even the larger banks are actually even in the consumer space now. But in a way, we have a distinct advantage because we are a right-sized community bank, not just in the metro, but even in the countryside. So that, I think, is why we actually adopted also hybrid banking, as our general business model.
So, as the Chamber is set to celebrate next month its 51st anniversary with the theme Resilience in Hybrid Banking, just what you mentioned, may we know the reason behind this year's theme and its importance in the banking landscape nowadays?
Sure.
Sure.
Well, you take resilience. You know, the median age of our member banks is upwards of 38 years. So that tells you just how we've survived and thrived actually over the past so many crises. So you think back, for instance, to the 1970s, the Chamber sprang up in 1974. This is well before your time, but that was the oil crisis actually. And then when you get into the 80s, the 90s, you have all sorts of from the Asian crisis to the global banking crisis. And then more recently, you had COVID-19, the lockdown. Through it all, our banks have not just survived, but actually thrived. And I think a testament to that also is the relative seniority, the experience of the heads of our different banks. It averages at least 32 years. So imagine, you have all that collective wisdom and experience of the leaders of our banks that are guiding and steering their respective banks throughout all the different challenges that may come our way. Yeah.
So for our viewers here, since we are talking about hybrid banking, can you give us can you explain in simple terms what hybrid bank is? Hybrid banking is?
I would frame it really as the best of both worlds. So you have the traditional strengths of a bank. This is the brick and mortar branch. This is the traditional network. And then you increasingly have digital, right? So when we did a recent survey, fully 16 of 20 banks that responded are already at various stages of digitalization. A number of them are already offering payment options like InstaPay, PesoNet, QRPH, which became really, really handy during the lockdown, right? When most people couldn't go to physical branches or even transact in ATMs. At the same time, you have the strengths, the stability of bankers, right? In terms of governance, credit disciplines, and a real sense of what it means to really service a client, together with all of the advances that Gen AI and machine learning and eventually quantum computing bring to bear. So for different banks, we're at various stages of adoption, but we can see that the trajectory is leading toward that. We are not sacrificing our traditional strengths. Rather, we are taking those and blending them with what state-of-the-art technology has to bring to the table. Yeah.
Sir, I'm just curious in terms of comparing hybrid banking in the Philippines compared to the ASEAN neighbors. Are we lagging behind? Or where are we?
In a way, we might be, but the mere fact that if we can jump ahead to the convention, the fact that we've been able to line up so many fintech vendors and suppliers, that tells us that these international players, service providers, see a really strong potential for our industry, our markets, to respond really to such technological advances. And in a way, we are also learning from our neighbors. I think proof positive also of that perceived potential is the fact that, even in our own bank, Citystate Savings Bank, we recently got monetary board approval for the buy-in of a Hong Kong-based third-party investor. And so I can speak freely about this since we've already disclosed it. It's official knowledge. They actually are looking to Citystate Savings Bank as a kind of springboard for more business potential, more growth, not just domestically, but perhaps even regionally. So this is a very well-established company that's actually been listed on the Hang Seng Index of Hong Kong. They set up an investment company in Singapore precisely to invest in the Philippines through Citystate Savings Bank.
Thank you for sharing that, sir. So, to add to the theme of the convention, may we know who will be the guest speakers and what topics will be discussed during the convention and who can attend the convention?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. We're very proud to have as our keynote speaker Deputy Governor Chuchi Fonacher of the BSP. She will be speaking on the state of the thrift banking industry and how our regulator, the central bank, is actually looking to help us and the rest of the banking sector. We also have Deputy Governor Mert Tamongan, who will be talking about digital payments. There is a 2024 to 2026 digital payments transaction framework, and we're looking forward to his updates on that. We will also have Undersecretary Domini Velasquez, who will be talking about the macro resilience of our Philippine economy. And then, very interestingly, we will have noted thought leader, consultant, Mr. Francis Kong, who will be talking on leadership in these challenging times. Yeah, so those would be our main speakers. We would also have Ms. Steph C. of Thinking Machines, who will be talking, sharing with us about digital governance. Yeah, and of course we will have a whole roster of different mini talks by our major sponsors. Yeah, so it'll be a full day. The attendees are really representatives of our member banks. We will also have a lot of our BSP partners in there, and of course our sponsors and suppliers, right? So we intend to really fill that ballroom of the Dusit Tani on July 15.
July 15.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, as we wrap up today's episode, sir, would you like to say some closing remarks or give us a snapshot on what we should look forward to for both Chamber of Thrift Banks and Citystate Savings Bank?
Yeah, well, I'll begin with our own neck of the woods. Yeah, we'd really like to propel Citystate Savings Bank towards greater heights. And I think with the entry of our third-party investor, CS Capital Private Limited, we will do just that because they have assured us of their support both financially and technologically. At the same time, we have the abiding support of the ALC group, particularly the Cabangon family. And then talking about the thrift banking industry as a whole, well, our chamber is actually gaining more strength. We are able to liaise and coordinate more and more closely with our counterparts in the commercial banks, among commercial banks, rural banks, and digital banks. We're in close contact also with fintechs. The data privacy is a big thing for us. We are very attentive and responsive to the needs for stronger and stronger cybersecurity. And we're blessed to have a regulator such as the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, who is very forward thinking. And we're grateful for the different guardrails that they actually have been erecting to secure our transactions, protect our customers, and also be strong guides and consultants, if you will, for us to carry our business forward. Yeah.
Okay. Sir, I'm just curious, do you have any government recommendations as we try to strengthen the resilience of hybrid banking in the country?
Yes, there's very little actually that we can even begin to bring up or advise our regulator, because they're way ahead of the curve. They bring best-in-class, global banking practices to our shores. They actually anticipate a lot of what's going on, even in areas like, cryptocurrency and NFTs, stablecoin. They're very big on risk management, the various aspects of enterprise risk, and so all told, I think we will be able to keep relying on the BSP to provide us the much needed direction going into whatever the future of banking has to bear. Yeah.
With that, thank you, Sir Jimi, for walking us through the banking landscape through your lens and journey. We appreciate the knowledge that you shared with us today. So that's it for today's segment. Thank you everyone for hanging out with us on Freshly Brewed. This has been Andrea San Juan. Don't forget to catch our next episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. See you next time.
And that wraps up our Freshly Brewed episode for today. Thank you for tuning in to Freshly Brewed. Stay informed, stay inspired, and make smarter choices every day with Business Mirror. For the latest stories and updates, visit our website, businessmirror.com.ph, for a broader look at today's business. And follow us on our social media channels. Stay ahead, know more, and see you next time.